Hi! Welcome back to my channel. It's been a while, but I'm excited because we are halfway through the year, which is crazy to say. It's June 1st today, which I love it when the first of the month is on a Monday. It makes me like Mondays better. I thought it'd be fun to do a video of a yes, no, maybe for the books that I've read so far this year and whether or not I would recommend them. I believe I've read 22 books this year, which is crazy for me. I read 26 books last year. Last year was so bad. I'm almost at where I was last year for the whole year. I personally am very excited with my goal because I am heading in the right direction. I have so many great reads that I have lined up for the rest of the year as well, and also new books that will be releasing. I think I'm going to start in the order that I read it. The first book that I read for the year was Meat by Ali Hazelwood. Last year, my first book of the year was Bride. I thought it would just be fitting to go along with the theme since it's the second book as an interconnected standalone series. I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 5 stars. Now, was it top tier? No, it was not, but the vibes were so good. I read it less than 24 hours. This follows Serena. She is Misery's best friend from the first book in Bride. She is not a part of a pack. She just figured out that she is a hybrid. She's a werewolf human. Because of that, so many people are hunting her. So Cohen, the Pacific Northwest Alpha pack leader, protects her, and it's so good. He's just so moody, so grumpy towards her as well, and she's just the sunshine, super sarcastic. Ali Hazelwood, for some reason, can get away in some books. The quirky girl, and this one, she got away with it for sure. But it was such a good, fun, entertaining read. Like I said, not groundbreaking literature at all, but a really fun time if you're into intro werewolf paranormal romance. Then I continued the Ali Hazelwood train, and that then led me to Deep End. And I did not like this book. I hate these spread edges. I literally hate them so much. I get what they were doing. I read it last year and I thought I wasn't in the right headspace to read it because I was like, Ali Hazelwood, I love her. Oh my gosh, she can do no wrong. So I put it down like a soft DNF, and then I picked it up again because I'm like, I'm ready to go. I'm rocking and I'm rolling. Picked it up and I literally did not like this at all. It wasn't the worst one that I've read this year, but it was not that good for me personally. People are saying it was the spiciest book that Ali Hazelwood has written, and maybe that's true. What I hated were the main characters, also including Penn, a side character that felt like a main character in this book. It was so exhausting how much she was mentioned in this book. Penn is on the swim team with Scarlett. Scarlett is the female main character, but you would think as much as Penn is mentioned in this book, like a dual female main character kind of thing, Penn is also the ex to Lucas, who is the main male character, and she's just constantly there. Every scene, I just felt like she was just there. And I just felt that their relationship felt forced. They could have been better off as friends, honestly. They're college kids that go to Stanford. She is a diver and he is a swimmer. They both want to be in the medical field, so there's other plots that are happening, and I found myself skimming a good amount of just random dialogue in the book that I didn't care about. I gave this book initially 2.5 stars, but it's just teetering between 2 stars and 2.5 stars. The next 3 that I read were on my Kindle, and it was the Edge of Darkness trilogy. That was the most trauma-inducing, dramatic series that I've ever read. I don't know if I would recommend it or not. I'm gonna put it in the maybe category because it is a dark romance. So there are incredibly dark topics that are discussed in this book series. There were so many cringy things that happened at the same time, but because the plot was entertaining, I let it slide. But then the plot started to go all over in different directions. I hate the miscommunication trope so much, like with a burning passion. So many things that could have been resolved. No trauma would have been given to these poor characters if they just communicated with one another, and it drove me batty. I had my Kindle and I was smacking it into my bed sometimes for how frustrating this series was as a whole. Now, I really enjoyed the first book. I liked the second book, and I really liked the third one until the last 20% of the book. Now we're just dragging on. It made no sense. You're just trying to fill time in with word count. So that took away with a lot of what I would rate the books because of just how repetitive and annoying and how much the book dragged on. The plot, at certain times, I was like, whoa, this could be a movie. Like, this is crazy what's happening. And then other times I'm like, what are we doing? What's going on? I'm so confused. This book follows Stacy and Cade. They are middle school and high school lovers. Stacy is best friends with Cade's twin sister. Something goes wrong. They have this massive fallout. They part ways. They eventually find each other back in each other's presence, and they literally hate one another so much, and you don't know what happened between them because throughout the first book, second book, and third book, there's flashbacks to their relationship when they were younger. Wow, their relationship is chaotic. There's side characters and different components and different avenues that this story goes through. I think I would recommend it if you do like dark topics. But if you want a good like time, but not also a good time because I did cry in certain scenes, it's just a chaotic mess that lives rent-free in my head and I don't know how I feel about it, and that's all I'm gonna say with that. Then I moved on to Psychotic Obsession, which there's the trilogy, the Edge of Darkness trilogy, and then in the same universe is Psychotic Obsession because it follows Cade's father and his storyline, and he was my favorite character. He was the most sane person in the Edge of Darkness trilogy, and he's a diagnosed psychopathic person that's locked up in an institution, but you get his background and his relationship with Cade's mom also, and it is so dark the way that my opinion changed with Tobias because it's premedicated Tobias. Again, a lot of triggering things. I don't get triggered really ever, but it is very, very dark, so I do want to preface, please like read the trigger warnings. Like, it's a good time, it's fun. It's not fun because it's dark, but I thought it was fun. Anyways, I want to move on because I don't really like talking about dark romance because it's just like all over the place for me. It's like, do I like it? Do I not like it? It's fun, it's not. It's just a thing for me that I read. Then I read In the Veins of the Drowning by Kaylee Cassidy, and I would recommend it. It was the first book that dealt with sirens for me. I really liked it. I wanted to give it 5 stars. There was just some things that were lacking with the storyline for me personally, but I would recommend this book. This follows Imogen, and she was raised in this kingdom by this man that she hates. She forces herself into a blood bond with a king that's visiting this kingdom, and now he has to protect her. That king that she forces herself into a blood bond with has his own issues in his own kingdom, so he feels like this could help both him and her at the same time, so that's why they make this deal. Yeah, I'm excited for the second book that's coming out. I believe it's coming out next month, so very soon. Then I read Heartless Hunter by Kristen Cicerelli, and I had higher expectations when it came to this book, and it fell for me. It's about a witch and a witch hunter, and because of that concept, I was like, this is going to be crazy. I'm so excited. But I really did not like the main male character in this book. I wanted the female main character to end up with her best friend, who is also the younger brother to the main male character in this book. I was like, why does she not pick him? And that's saying something because that guy is blonde. Rune is a witch, and in this kingdom, witches are executed. Gideon, the main male character, is the witch hunter. They have their own agenda going on. They kind of fall for one another, and I really hate that this is described as enemies to lovers because I guess the concept of a witch and a witch hunter would seem to be, yes, they are enemies. With this book specifically, I would not say that it's enemies to lovers because they always found each other attractive. There was some type of lust component. I mean, maybe they hated that they found one another attractive, and maybe that's the hate enemies concept. It was very annoying the way that he spoke to her, very condescending, and I did not like that at all. She felt very self-righteous as well. I gave this book 3.5 stars. I have the second book, so I'm going to continue reading, but obviously I read this February and I haven't wanted to pick up the second book. I mean, I'll get to it eventually, and hopefully the second one is better. Alright, then I read The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I did not like that book at all. I really did not like it, and I wanted to like it because it's a thriller, and I want to get back into reading thrillers more, but the past few thrillers that I have read, I just don't really like because I call part of the plot, and it's really annoying when that happens. I personally did not like how this story was portrayed when it comes to psychologists and psychotherapists. I felt like the author was saying basically anyone can become a psychiatrist. I didn't like that concept of it. None of the characters really impressed me. I did not like the narrator. God complex that this character had was infuriating. There's this psychiatrist, and he has this nice cush job that he leaves to take on and go to a institution because of this one woman who killed her husband a few years ago, and after that happened, she went completely mute. She hadn't said a single word since the night that murder took place. So he thinks that he can try and save her and have her speak. I'm like, do you not have any other patients that you're caring for? Because his main priority is this one woman that he is literally an obsession with, of trying to help her. It dragged on for so long that I had to skim so many parts because a lot of the book was so unnecessary. It did not get good until the last 10% for me. And by then I was like, let's move on with this, and I'm already checked out. So that was my opinion of the book. So no, I would not recommend it. I gave it 2 stars. My next book that I read was Check and Mate by Ali Hazelwood, and this is where I did a hard stop on any Ali Hazelwood books from now on because I hated this book. I was doing a challenge with myself to read thrillers, contemporary romance, fantasy books, all of that. I was really excited for that. I just really did not like it. The female main character really irked me. It follows these 2 chess players. She was this prodigy child, and then something happened and she never wants to play chess again, but then she finds herself back in the world of chess, competing and trying to win because her family needs money and there's like this grand prize, so she's basically taking care of her family. Her sisters are exhausting. The best part of this book was the main male character. When he was mentioned, I was like locked in. I was sitting down and I was ready to go. But I almost DNF'd this book. Pushed through and I pushed through. I had to skim her internal thoughts. The victim complex that she had in this whole entire book was so incredibly exhausting. It dragged on and on and on and on, and I could not take it anymore. And then finally the guy, they were having some dialogue, so I was locked back in. But yeah, I could not do this book. And I was really bummed out because I wanted to find out more about the world of chess. I felt like it was such a fun concept about talking about chess and how crazy that world can be, about traveling and tournaments and how competitive it also is. So I was very excited about that, but I could not stand the female main character in this book, and that really made me mad. Like I said, I think I gave it 2 stars. I would not recommend this book. The next book that I read was Phantasma by Kaylee Smith, and this is another book that I had really high hopes for and fell flat for me. I still gave this book 3 stars because it was overall enjoyable. I thought the concept of it was very intriguing. Also, I think I gave it extra points because it follows a tall girl, and I am a tall girl, and I love my tall representation when it comes to that in books because I feel like us tall girls don't get that much representation. But this follows Ophelia, and her sister live in New Orleans, and something happens where she has to enter into this traveling games, haunted house, trials thing. You could potentially die. The winner is granted a wish basically at the end, like most trials in fantasy. I was really excited about the games that take place. There's certain levels that you need to get through in order to get to the end, and there's devils and ghosts and monsters. So many things were in this book, so I was very excited for it, but I felt like it was barely touched on, and it's more of a romance driven book, and I didn't really care that much about their romance. It felt very quick, and I wanted more about the plots. They were talking about the trials a lot and building it up, and then when the trial came, it was maybe 2 pages, if that, talking about what took place in the trials. Some things were just really unnecessary. I did like the ending because I was like, ooh, okay, I see what you're doing there. But other than that, throughout the whole book, I just felt like it was a lot of nothing. But did I get the second book? Yeah, I did. The next book that I read was The Magnificence of Death by Rhea Rainwater, and I was really excited for this one as well because the concept was so fascinating to me. It follows this woman who has a family curse. It's a curse that runs throughout her lineage, and it's only on the female side. Of course. Each woman in the family is cursed with a different curse. Her curse is that she is immortal. And the main male character of this book is Death himself. He's trying to figure out a way to kill Astoria, who is the female main character in this book, because she keeps outrunning death. And they have banter, years and years and years of tension between one another because he's trying to figure out how she's not dying. She's trying to figure out how to break the curse of her not dying. So they end up working together to try and figure that out. And it's such a beautiful book when it comes to the writing style of it. I thought it was so poetic. I did give this book 4 stars. I also heard it's the author's debut novel, so that's very impressive to write a book this beautiful and the plot so intriguing, and so props to her. But yeah, I really did like this book and I would recommend. The next book that I read was The Jasad Heir by Sarah Hashim, and I love this book so much. I want to give it 5 stars, but there's something that just in my brain, I didn't give it 5 stars. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. So yes, I would recommend this book. The storyline is so intriguing, and the relationship dynamic that's between the main characters I found really fascinating because it's an actual enemies dynamic. There's so many books that are advertised as enemies to lovers, but they're not actually enemies to lovers. I really enjoyed their actual enemies dynamic, and the way that they're forced into being around one another I loved also, because I just love a good forced proximity. I mean, who doesn't love a forced proximity? This follows Sylvia. She is the heir to the Jasad kingdom. Something happens in this kingdom that wipes out everyone in this kingdom, and she's the sole surviving heir. She ends up fleeing and finds herself in another kingdom. Years later, she's going about her life, you know, living her life, and something happens to where she has to use her magic. Now, in majority of these kingdoms, you are not allowed to use magic. If people find out that you are a part of the Jasad kingdom, you have trials, but basically you're executed. And so she never uses her magic. She uses her magic once, and the person that sees her use her magic is the prince of another kingdom. He is cold. He is calculating. He says, I won't kill you. I won't tell anyone about it, but you need to be my competitor for these trials that are coming up, and you can't say no. She becomes his competitor in these trials. Different kingdoms choose different competitors to be a part of these trials, and if you win, you get complete safety. Their dynamic is, like I said, so good because they just literally hate one another, and it's so good. He literally throws daggers at her, legitimate daggers, not eye contact daggers, like physical daggers. He throws them at her, and their training sessions that they have with one another, and the side characters, I love everything about this book. Is so good. I need to read the second book in the duology. I'm going to be reading it this month. It's been staring at me. I have a feeling that the second book will be 5 stars if it follows the trajectory that this one was going. The way that it ended was so good, and I do really recommend The Jasad Heir. The next book that I read was Direbound by Sable Sorensen. I gave this book 5 stars. I don't know what to say. It was a good time. It's compared to Fourth Wing, and I can understand why, because there are definitely similar components for sure. I just like this better. The female main character wasn't insufferable like Violet, and I liked the storyline. I liked the friendships that were included. I thought it was very intriguing. The female main character is tall, so obviously I'm gonna give it extra points because of that. There was just so many things that were happening that made me really enjoy this book, and I'm so pissed off because I finished it in March and I was so ready for Furybound, which is the second book in this series, and it came out 2 weeks ago, and I was locked in ready to go on release day. I never go to Barnes & Noble on release days. I get there and it's only released as a hardback. And if you know me or you've watched any of my videos, you know how much it pisses me off when authors or publishing companies, I don't really know who's in charge of it, release the first book as a paperback and then the second book is released as a hardback, and it's so completely different, or it has sprayed edges, but that's not what this video is about. This book follows Marin. Her skills are fighting, so she goes to these fight clubs. She has a sister and a mother who has mental problems. It's declining, and so basically Marin is the provider for this family. In this little village, kids are getting kidnapped at night and they are never seen again. They're never returned. One night, Marin's little sister is kidnapped. She wants to get her sister back and is trying to figure out how to get her sister back. So she enrolls into this military, and the military base that they would be going to is the area where these kids are being taken to. So she's trying to get to the front lines to try and find her sister. However, when she enlists into the military, she's thrown into a bonding trial, gets bonded to a dire wolf. Because she's bonded with a dire wolf, there's months of training that she has to go through, and she could possibly not survive it, and so it's very intense. There's also a corrupt king and a love triangle that takes place. I wouldn't really say it's a love triangle, but there's like a love aspect and then like tension and another thing. The way that it ended, I was so ready to go. So I don't know how I'm going to read the second book. There's no way I can wait 1.5 years for the paperback. I love this book. I read it in less than 24 hours. I was locked in. I did not want to put this book down. So many people do not like this book, but there's also so many people that love this book. There was some things obviously that were cringy, but I just thought it was such a good time and I really enjoyed it. After that, I read Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. This has been on my shelf for a long time, so I was very excited to read it. I needed an opportunity to read it, so I was glad that this book was picked in the challenge that I was doing for the month of March. So I ended up reading it. I was honestly really disappointed because I had higher expectations for it because I thought it was going to be more whimsical than it actually was. This follows Iris and Roman. Iris, you know that her brother has enlisted into this god war that's happening. Flash forward, she's working at this newspaper company and she has this rival, Roman, and they're competing for the same columnist position. They got some banter, not crazy banter, but at least some banter. She doesn't feel really any fulfillment in her life at this point. She decides to leave her job and go to another job that's sending reporters and journalists into the field because she wants to try and find her brother. She also wants to bring light to what's happening in war to the people that are in this town. Roman decides to follow her into the front lines. They're forced with the first-hand experience of being in war. The thing that was lacking was more magic for me. The only thing that was really magical in the storyline was the typewriters. She has a magical typewriter, he has a magical typewriter. Write letters to one another, but they don't know that they're talking to one another. They just know that there's some magical component. I have the second book. It was good enough for me to want to continue on. Also, like I said, I have the book, so I need to read it, but I was let down. I think I gave this book 3 stars. This is a book that I'll say maybe I'll recommend. The next 2 books that I read are part of a series, and the first one was The Wolf King, and the second one is The Night Prince. I really enjoyed these books. I did not think that I was going to enjoy them, but I think I just loved the environment and the setting, the world that it was building. Scottish Outlander kind of vibe that was happening. It follows obviously wolves, and this girl finds herself taken from her kingdom by these wolves, and there's a lot of political elements that are happening. There's tension and romance that's happening from the guy who kidnapped her from her kingdom, and then in The Night Prince, I really like The Night Prince. There's a love triangle that's brought into the process, and I just loved, like I said, the environment, the characters, the setting, the vibe of it. I read through both of them in, I believe, 2 days. It was so good, and I'm really mad that I have to wait for the third book. So yes, I would recommend. I think I gave both of them 4 stars. The next book that I read was Daggermouth by H.M. Wolf, and I wanted to like this because it was marketed as an enemies to lovers dystopian book. The plot that was given, it had so much potential, but I hated this book. I literally hated it so much. I was skimming so much of it. The dialogue was insufferable. The internal monologues were insufferable. The female main character was portrayed as this fake badass character. I could not stand her. There was this one scene where she said that she feels nothing, fears nothing, welcomes death, and then literally the next paragraph she has a near-death experience and she's like, wow, so this is what fear feels like. Oh my gosh, my hands are shaking. You're literally like 30 years old. You're telling me that you've never had a near-death experience, especially the life that you're living, a supposed badass assassin. Like, come on now. It just didn't make sense to me. The last 2% of the book was somewhat entertaining. It was just, I couldn't do it. So no, I would not recommend this book, but people loved this book, so I felt like I'm the outlier in this book recommendation, or book not recommendation. The next book that I read was Quicksilver by Callie Hart, and I think I would recommend this book. The first half of the book, the female main character was really annoying to me. I just find it really annoying when characters, especially female main characters, because you see it more often, not saying that it doesn't happen with men in books, but you see it primarily in female main characters where this badass character and like has to fight in her own kingdom and then is brought into this separate kingdom and starts telling people what to do. And it's really frustrating because I'm like, you're literally brand new to this kingdom and you're talking to people that's been here for hundreds of years. You need to calm down. You need to hop off your high horse because you're so not in your element in this new kingdom. I did like Kingfisher, but I also literally hate the name Kingfisher so much. Why? I do like a brooding man, but he was just too brooding. Like, got to the point where I'm like, oh my god, we get it. But the things that he would say to, I don't even know how to say her name, Ceres? Sometimes I call her Siri. I don't know, Fane. I'll just call her Fane. I could not stand their dynamic at times because it was the banter, but again, they found each other attractive. detective and there was just secrets and it was so exhausting. The side characters are the best. I'm currently reading Brimstone and it's taking me a little bit. Really, I'm trying to push through with the second book. Quicksilver is one of those where sure, I'll recommend it, but if you don't like it, don't blame me because I only gave this book 3 stars. The next book that I read was The Poison Daughter by Shayla Masterton. This one was really a hard read because the plot was very intriguing for sure, but the female main character and the main male character, their dynamic was, it felt so forced to me. I could not understand their relationship. And another book that was so repetitive, and then another one where she would go on this long 2-page rant of how much she hates this guy, and then the next paragraph is like, but he's so attractive and I like him so much and I can't believe that I like him, blah blah blah. I'm like, girl, pick a lane, make up your mind. It was so infuriating, the constant back and forth that was happening between this character and her internal thoughts. Why am I reading rant after rant after rant and then you're gonna go and change your mind? I just felt so annoyed with the character, but the plot was really interesting. She has this magic where if she kisses someone, her lips are poison. If she kisses someone, they die. They're dead. She goes to kiss him, he doesn't die, and she's like, why? Why can't you die? So she's trying to figure that out. Her kingdom and his kingdom have beef with one another. Her parents and his parents go way back and don't like each other. Forced marriage that is also happening as well. So there's different plot lines that are happening. But I just felt like their relationship felt super forced, and by the end I was like, thank God that this is over. But again, it's another book that a lot of people liked, and I feel like another outlier for this book. I gave it 3 stars, so I guess I would still recommend it because I do like the gothic atmosphere that the kingdom brings. The magic system within the families I found very interesting, but the characters are what really killed the vibe for me. The last 2 books that I read are, okay, another thing that makes me mad. I thought that this was a duology. I got really bummed when I finished the second book and it ended on a cliffhanger and I was like, what? I was so confused, so I looked it up and there's a 3rd book that's supposed to be coming out the end of the year, and I was like, wait, it's Riftborn and Duskbound by Bree Greenidge. Riftborn had such a interesting plot line because there's different magics and she's a girl that doesn't know her past. One night a commander sees her use her powers and was like, I'm gonna use you as a weapon and we're gonna try and figure out your powers. There's a war that's happening with these dark dementors basically that are flying around this kingdom, and they're trying to figure out how to destroy them. So they're thinking, okay, if we can lock in Fia's power, let's use her to try and defeat them. So Lark teaches her how to control her powers. She enlists into the military. He does not give her an option to say no. She finds herself kidnapped by the dementors. Their world is dying and they're trying to fight Fia's kingdom or universe or area that there's like not teleporting, but different universes that they go through. It was just kind of confusing. Here she meets very likable characters. I didn't like many of the characters that were in the first book, but I did enjoy the side characters that were introduced into Duskbound. So she's stuck in a weird dynamic of trying to help both sides. New girl gets into new realm and starts bossing people around. Don't like that aspect of it, but there were interesting things that were happening. It just took me longer to finish the book because there was just so many lulls that were happening in the storyline that I didn't find intriguing. And then I got to the final end and I was like, wait, what? And that's what I told you, got left off of a cliffhanger and it pissed me off. So now I have to wait for the 3rd book, but the whole reason why I read the 2 books was because I wanted to read The Ascended, because people said you had to read those 2 before you read The Ascended. So now I don't even want to read The Ascended because I thought The Ascended was just 1 book, but there's another book that's going to be coming out after that. I'm gonna put a pause. I'm tired of reading books that are in between publishing and that aren't out yet. I want to read books that are already published. Those are all the books that I've read so far. So many. I feel like I talked forever and ever and ever. I had a good time with the stories that I read, but I'm pretty sure that my average rating would be a 3. I also realized that I've only given out 2 5-star books, so I need to read better books. So if you have any recommendations of your 5-star, maybe just like fantasy reads, because obviously I'm reading a lot of fantasy. I'm in my fantasy era, if you cannot tell. If you like this video, please like and subscribe for more videos to come. If you want to follow me on any other social media platforms, I will have them linked down below in the description, and I hope to be seeing you in the next video. Happy reading!